Today, I plan to rebuild a Gateway 2610 desktop computer to be used in the computer lab here at the school I work. It mostly will be used for research and teacher instruction. As you can see by the front of the case, it has two USB ports, a headphone jack, and an audio jack for a headphone. There is no disk drive, and it has an optical drive that is just for DVD and CD only. It does not have burning capabilities. As you also can see, I've gutted the case, I've cleaned it, I've sprayed it down, and it's ready to be rebuilt from the bottom up. The case is a negative airflow pressure case. It won't be used for high performance things like extreme gaming or computing. It's just going to be used as research tool in the library to help students. There's my cage for the fan, my input and output switches, and also where the power supply goes. Okay, let's check out some of the components that will be going into the case on this rebuild. Alright, first I have a Intel ATX motherboard right here. It's got the 4 RAM slots, PCIe. There's where my processor goes. There's the north bridge, the south bridge, plenty of capacitors. I even have a PCI Express. Here you see my PS2 serial VGA, my 24-pin power connector, where my CMOS battery goes. Pretty much everything. Just a standard motherboard. Nothing too serious because I'm not doing anything too serious with the computer. Alright, next I have 2 sticks of 1 GB DDR2 RAM. Like I said, not a supercomputer. 2 GB would do more than enough for what I need to do and to get everything I need out of this computer. Next is the hard drive. It's a 160 GB Western Digital SATA drive with 8 MB of cache that can be stored on it. Next is the heat sink that goes to the motherboard and over the processor to help dissipate some of that heat to keep up peak computing performance. Next up is my CMOS battery. That's my CR2032, used to keep my BIOS settings and date and time just like it does for watches. Well, without the BIOS settings, but you get it. Here's one of my fans that goes in the back of the case that's going to push some of that hot air out. Next up is my power supply, 350 watts. There's my switches and all my connectors that will plug into various hard drives, disk drive, and the motherboard. Here's my Intel Celeron Core 2 Duo processor. If you flip on the back, it is a LGA, land grid array, that goes and it presses right down into the motherboard. Last but not least, I have my IDE cable, my SATA cable, and my audio and USB cables. Oh, and my ice tray for loose screws. Can't lose those. And now it is time to get into this build. We're going to go motherboard first. So let's do it. You want to make sure you're getting a good fit, nothing that is flat. You want to make sure, like turn around and make sure all your input and output switches are in good, lined up, and ready to go before you start screwing it down. Got it all in. It looks tight. It looks good. Now I'm gonna move on to the next piece, and I'm gonna go ahead and install the fan that goes in the back of the case. Let's do it. Now I'm gonna hook up my USB ports and my two audio ports that are located in the front of my case, get them plugged into the motherboard, get them fired up and ready to go. Next, time to put that processor in there. It's got the zero force insertion clamp. Easy peasy, no bent pins. Goes in real nice. You gotta like that when dealing with your processor. Next up is the heat sink, as I stated earlier, that helps dissipate some of that heat that's coming off that CPU. You don't want that thing overheating. And even to help the heat sink, I got a shroud with a fan that will blow that heat coming off the heat sink and blow it out the back of the case. They all have to work together to keep that CPU as cool as possible. Next up is the hard drive, and it's gonna slide right in. I love an open case like this, really easy to get to. And then I will grab my SATA cable and plug it right into the back of that hard drive, and then the other end into the motherboard. Real easy and ready to go. There's my IDE cable into the motherboard and into the back of the optical drive. Down to the power supply. Slide that bad boy in. Want to get it lined up and ready to go. I've also placed my two sticks of 1 GB DDR2 RAM into the first purple slot and the other purple slot located right there behind that power supply. And now to my ATX 20 pin connector, T1 coming to power up the motherboard straight from my PSU. Then I got my 4 pin, my P2 connector that's also providing power to the motherboard. Next, I'm going to hook up my SATA cable, which is going to power my hard drive. If I can just get it in there. Yep, give it a look. Up, can I? Ah, yeah, there we go. Up, there, yeah. Okay, now we're good. Now my P5 cable, which is going to power my optical drive, and we will be all done here.